Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa ahlul uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Inshallah, in today's dars, we will continue our discussion on the life of Umar bin Khattab radiyallahu anhu. And today we will start a new topic in the life of Umar bin Khattab radiallahu an. So from today, inshallah, we will be talking about the different conquests happened in the era of Umar bin Khattab radiallahu an. Last week, we talked about one of the important incident, or actually two different incidents that happened in the life of Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anh, when he removed Khalid bin Walid, the Sayfullah, the sword of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the title that was given to him by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And we talked about that, the reasons why Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anh removed such a great Sahabi like Khalid bin Walid, one of the biggest generals probably the history have seen. Even until today, Muslims or non-Muslims alike, they go back to the tactics and strategies that Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu used to make at that time. They still get lessons from it, learn from it, and apply in today's life as well. And I'm talking about the armies of different parts of the world. Now, inshallah, today and from now on, for at least for next couple of weeks, we will be talking about how the Islam is spread in the time of Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, meaning through the conquests. Before I go into that, I want to make sure that we understand the concept that when it comes to Islam to be accepted by the people, there is no compulsion in Islam at all. It's not even allowed to force somebody to become a Muslim. Allah Azza wa Jal says, La ikraha fi d-din, qad tabayyana rushdu min al-ghayy. That there is no compulsion in deen. It's not actually allowed for us to force somebody to enter into fold of Islam. Let's make it clear that this ayah is about not forcing non-Muslims to become Muslim. That's not allowed in Islam at all. So this whole idea of fallacy that have been spread in the history nowadays, at least, that they try to the enemies of Islam, the enemies of Allah Azza wa Jal, they try to promote this idea as if Islam was spread by force, by converting or forcing the people to become Muslim. That's actually a specific command to the Muslims that it is not allowed for us to force people to become Muslim. So anybody who becomes Muslim, he becomes Muslim because of his own will. And this is a choice Allah Azza wa Jal has given to all the mankind to accept Islam. If they don't want to accept Islam, there are consequences on the day of judgment for that person. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows the people that the choice is given to them, and with this choice, the punishment from Allah Azza wa Jal and the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is attached to those choices. But it has been mentioned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is how it is. Now, so having said that, when we talk about the conquest in the time of Umar bin Khattab, we'll keep this in mind, that it is not that Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, or before that Abu Bakr or Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they were sending armies left and right so they can force the people to enter into Islam. That's far away from the truth. As a matter of fact, it contradicts the teachings of Islam. Now, yes, the armies went there so they can implement the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and bring the justice for Muslims and non-Muslims alike. That has to be understood though. Okay, now today, inshallah, we're starting off with the conquest of Iraq and the East. Iraq, when you look at the map, it is a little bit to the east, but it's like a north and east, a little bit east also. So this is why it's referred as the East, because from there on, the conquest in the East continued on. And it went on from the East until even it reached to Central Asia, and in some part of it, you can see that even it touched the borders of the area which is today's Pakistan as well. In the time of Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anh, Islam reached up to that extent. Now, When we talk about Umar al-Khattab, so we'll start from the beginning when it comes to the conquest, inshallah, meaning when Umar al-Khattab radiallahu an, he became the Khalifa. Now, when Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu an, when he passed away in the 13th year after the Hijrah, Umar al-Khattab radiallahu an, the following morning, after the burial of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu an, we find that Umar started exhorting people or motivating people. Now we have to go towards Iraq and the eastern areas from the Iraq. Now this is the next day that Abu Bakr Siddiq was buried, meaning the head of the state at that time just died, and Abu Bakr is continuing on the da'wah of Islam. So remember, when we talk about these conquests, we are talking about carrying the message of Islam to the mankind here. That's what it is. That's da'wah we are talking about. A lot of time we talk about, think of da'wah as just going and talking to the people. Yes, that's one way of da'wah, but there's another aspect of the da'wah is that you carry it through the armies as well. Now, of course, the armies are led by the state. Now, so we can see a very similar thing that happened when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away. When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away, there was an army under the leadership of Usama bin Zayd radiallahu anh, was prepared by Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And when Abu Bakr became the Khalifa, he did not stop that army, even though that majority of the Sahaba, they were telling Abu Bakr not to do that. And Abu Bakr's response was, how can he stop something that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam started? And even though at that time, and we have covered this extensively when we were discussing the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and later on the life of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anh as well. So I'm not going to go into detail of that. I just want to remind that how the things were at that time. So Abu Bakr, the decision of this continuing the army of Usama bin Zayd radiallahu anhuma was a very crucial thing, actually, the crucial decision that Abu Bakr made, because most of the Arabian Peninsula, they did the apostasy. They left Islam. And at that time, it felt that only Islam was restricted to a very small place within the Arabian Peninsula. Now, Abu Bakr's decision probably to some people seem reckless, if somebody wants to say it. But in reality, we see the results of that was that's the decision that he made actually caused Islam to continue on. And the people who were even thinking about attacking the Muslims at that time to crush the Muslims after Muhammad ﷺ passed away, that decision for them, even for the Romans, because Abu Bakr Siddiq's army under Usama bin Zayd was going towards the Roman Empire, and Roman Empire was the one of the superpowers of that time. And the army was sent towards superpower. They got confused. How is this possible that their leader has just died, the prophet has just died, and they are here? So they actually got scared of that. And so similar impact happened on the apostates also at that time. Now think of this, Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anh is making a similar decision now, even though he was one of those people who was opposing Abu Bakr when Abu Bakr was making the decision, but he realized how Abu Bakr was right about his decision. Now, Umar was in his shoes. Of course, Umar was not in the similar shoes as Abu Bakr, because Abu Bakr, when he became the ruler, he was in a very difficult situation compared to Umar al-Khattab, because Abu Bakr stabilized the area and the conquest started happening, and Iraq actually was already open, most of it, in the time of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anh. But even nevertheless, think of this way, still a ruler has just died. And next day, Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anh, he is trying to tell the people, okay, we have to continue towards Iraq now. Now, first day he talked, people did not respond. Why? Because one of the things was Iraq, or talking about these Persian Empire, they were very ruthless people. They had no more, no right and wrong concept exist among them. And they were, of course, a superpower of that time as well. People did not want to respond. Second day, people did not want to respond. Third day, they're still not responding. And even Al-Muthanna ibn Haritha, one of the great Sahabi of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he spoke well, eloquently to motivate the people. People did not respond. Fourth day, finally, the first Muslim who responded was Abu Ubaid al-Thaqafi. Now, Abu Ubaid al-Thaqafi, rahmatullah alayh, he was not a Sahabi, he was a Tabi'i. Okay? And then when he responded, then the people started responding to the call of Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu. And then Abu Ubaid al-Thaqafi, he said, O Amir al-Mu'mineen, I am giving myself for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as do those of my cousins who agree to come and others who have joined me. So see, he presented himself because remember that how the society was, that still there was some, the tribalism was there. Does not mean that tribalism was making them think of this way, that their tribe is better than the others, or that person who belongs to one tribe is better than the other. But the way the society structure was, still the family ties are there. So he said, not only himself, my cousins, so he's talking about all the people around him, they will follow him. And so because of that, when Abu Bakr al-Thaqafi said, there are people who followed Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu saying. And then after that, there's another. Okay, sorry, I misspoke. Actually, it was Salid is the one who Salid bin Ibn Qais Ansari. He is the one who said these words, but he's the one who responded right after Abu Ubaid al-Thaqafi. Now, when he said that, now he is, because of both of them, when they start talking, there was people start rising up. Now they want to follow what Umar was asking to. Now they asked the Khalifa to appoint a man among the Muhajirin or Ansar over them. Now they wanted, why, when they're saying Ansar or Muhajirin, it's by default, we are talking about whom? We're talking about Sahaba, Ridwanullah alayhim. So Umar bin Khattab, he said, by Allah, I cannot find anyone who's more deserving of that than the one who encouraged the people first. Even though he is not a Sahabi, but he wanted the one who has spoken first. Because, look, there is a difference between a person who initiates something good when the people are not willing to listen, and when everybody is talking and you start going along with them. There's a huge difference between those two people. This is why when we talk about the one as-sabiqun was-sabiqun, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran even mentioned. So the people who have gone ahead, they are different. This is a different category of people, right? So similarly, when we talk about these kind of people, the one who's spoken up first. So Umar understood that, and this is why he said he's not going to assign anybody the one who's spoken first. But he said, I have appointed him over. But he said, but Abu Ubaid is the commander and Salid is his advisor. Why he did not call a Salid, even though Salid, which is Salid ibn Qais al-Ansari, even though he was the one, he was able to motivate the people more. But he said this Salid is very fast in the war, meaning he will just he was too hasty to go for any war actions. Hence he said Abu Ubaid is the one, because both of them went back and forth. He's the one who will be the leader, but Salid will be, because he knows a lot about the war tactics, he will be just the advisor. And the people said, we will listen and obey. And there's another report talks about that Abu Ubaid, when Abu Ubaid was selected, and there was no Sahabi was selected except besides him, meaning in the leadership position like that. So it was said to him, why didn't you appoint a man from the Sahaba over them? And he said, rather, I will appoint the first one who responded. And he said, you became superior to the people because of your support for this religion. But this is the one who responded before you. Meaning, he said, yes, Ansar and Muhajirin, they became leaders because they responded to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam first. But now, he's the one who responded first. Hence, he has chosen him to be the leader. Now, point is this, let's not think of this way, because Umar was famous not to be doing any kind of nepotism. He's not the one who's doing some sort of favoritism for certain people. Hence, he was very fair in this sense. He picked the one who was best for the job. And even he preferred them over the Sahaba. Even over the Sahaba. And obviously, Umar also understood that Sahaba were not going to be around forever. Sahaba were going to go away as well. So you build the next generation as well, and give them the leadership while those companions are still around. The companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam are still around. So he commanded him to consult the companions though. Okay, this is the key thing here. So he told them, go take the advice from the Sahaba of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he also said to consult Salid ibn Qais al-Ansari, because he was a man of war, or who has a lot of experience in the war. Okay. Then he told them that you are going to a land of treachery, betrayal, and oppression. You're going to people who are audacious in committing evil and know it well. They have forgotten good and become ignorant of it. So see what you will do. Watch what you say, and do not disclose your secrets for so long as the one who has a secret and is keeping it, he will be safe. But if he does not keep the secret, that will be the cause of his doom. Meaning, this is a very it's a great statement by Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anh about keeping the secrets. If there is something needs to be kept as a secret, don't disclose it. That's all it is. Don't assume that you're going to tell just one person and he will not disclose to anybody, because he can think the very same thing. And that goes on and on. And we see this in our daily lives all the time. People are thinking that they are keeping the secret by just telling one person. And that becomes like a chain reaction. And later on, in a very short period of time, you find out everybody knows. So if somebody wants to keep a secret, and especially he's sending them for a war, he said, if you want to keep a secret, then keep a secret. Don't disclose. Otherwise, the very same thing will become the cause of your destruction. Then he commanded Al-Muthanna ibn al-Haritha to go ahead and arm the army who catch up with him. Because he sent now Abu Ubaid, al-Thaqafi, and Salid towards the Iraq. And he told Al-Muthanna ibn al-Haritha that go ahead and check out those Muslims who in the time of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anh, they did the apostasy, but they returned back to Islam. So now they returned back, they repented. So he said, go check and see if there are good among them, take them with you. So now he prepared an army from them. And the Muslims who were 7,000 strong marched towards Iraq. And Umar wrote to Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah to telling him to send whoever was in Iraq, because Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah radiallahu anh, he was already in the time of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anh, who had reached Iraq, and he was already there. He was one of the generals. Now, he told Abu Ubaidah also to gather some people who can help. And they all start gathering there. Now, this development that was happening towards the Muslims, and during the same time, the Buran, the daughter of Kisra, okay, she is the one who became the queen, because Kisra was killed by her predecessors. And Buran delegated one of the names that you will be hearing quite a bit later on when we talk about Iraq and the Persian Empire, which is Rustam. So she delegated Rustam on the basis that he would conduct a war and power would be returned to the family of Kisra. That was the main reason. And Rustam was not only one of the generals of the army, he was famous to be an astrologer. So astrologers, of course, they don't know really the truth. But as we know, some of the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam talks about that. Before Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a prophet, some of the shayateen, they used to get some of the information and give it to these people. So they have some bits of knowledge here and there. So these astrologers, they used to talk about certain things. Now Rustam, somebody asked him, because Rustam supposedly he could foresee that Persian Empire or the Faris is going towards the destruction. So he was asked, why did you accept this position that you are going to get the power to Kisra? And his response was the greed and the love of power. It has nothing to do that he knows future or anything. Of course he did not. It's more of a greed and power, but politically situation what he was seeing. He can see Persian Empire is going towards the doom. and how the Muslims were expanding. The expansion was happening. He could see it, but it's still the power and the greed that was pushing him, that he wants to. He took the position. Of course, he did get wealth and the power, the position that the daughter of Kisra, Buran, put him in. Now, after that, after the arrival of Abu Ubaid ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, Thaqafi, rahmatullah alayhi, Thaqafi, and he became the leader of the army, he went towards Iraq. And the Persians, they knew that Abu Ubaid, rahimahullah, he is not the one who is a known leader or known generals. So now they wanted to frighten him. Okay, so they want to create some sort of a chaos for him when they found out Abu Ubaid is the one who's coming. So what they did was they prepared the civilians in the Iraq, because Muslims, they just got the power in Iraq. So they started creating some uprising against the army of Abu Ubaid. And this is something for us as Muslims to understand, that look, even today, when if Islam comes back, Islam rules, there will be uprisings that will be happening. But how do you tackle these kind of things? And these are the lessons that we should learn when we study the lives of the Sahaba or life of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how they used to take care of the things. Now here, when so they were creating all sorts of civilian kind of a chaos against Abu Ubaid rahimahullah. And when the Muslims reached, and there's an area called Namariq, and from behind, and there was people who were from the front, the army, and from the back of Abu Ubaid now, okay, who are going to fight with Abu Ubaid rahimahullah. Now here, and not only that they had army, but they sent some of the generals of them. One was Jaban, and the other one was Nursi. And the area they sent is called Kaskar. And they sent troops to fight Al-Muthanna as well. Now Al-Muthanna heard news of that, so he got army to keep lookout and was very cautious. Now Al-Muthanna ibn al-Haritha, he was a great leader. He was a general in the Muslim army in the past, even in the time of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anh. He was one of the leaders who opened Iraq besides Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah. Al-Muthanna is a famous fighter also, but Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anh, he kept him under Abu Ubaid. Does not mean that Abu Ubaid, Muthanna is not there. Similarly, as we will see in the future as well, and we saw in the past too, that Khalid bin Walid, even though when he was removed from the position, it's not that Khalid just disappeared. Khalid is still part of the army, is still doing the consultation, is still moving with the army. Same way, Muthanna continued on. And Abu Ubaid al-Thaqafi and al-Muthanna camped in an area called Khafan. Then the battle broke out, and in this battle, the Muslims beat the Persians over there, and they ran away. Especially the Jaban and the Nursi, those two of the generals of the Persian army, they ran away. But one of the Muslims, he was able to capture Jaban. Jaban was one of the leaders. Now, in general, when a leader is captured, you don't let them go. In general, in the army. But that Muslim did not know Jaban was the leader, so he tricked him. And he was able to ask for security from him. We know that if somebody is given the aman, security in the Muslims, if one Muslim gives it, it's from all the Muslimin. Okay? And then he gave him some ransom, and he left. But some other Muslim grabbed him. Now, when he was grabbed, he was caught again, captured again. Now, when he was taken to Abu Ubaid, so when he was taken to Abu Ubaid, he mentioned to him that he was given the security by a Muslim. So Abu Ubaid, he said, because if one Muslim has given you the security, this is from all of us. Even though he knew who Jaban was, and he let them go. Because of this, people realized of the Persian Empire, which is Iraq and the East, we're talking about the area, they realized that these people, the Muslims who we are dealing with, they are the people with principles. And they are not the way the Persians had become. That they were not able to distinguish between the right and wrong anymore. They became oppressive. And now then they saw this people from this new religion and the one who are the carriers of this new deen, that how they let their leader go, even though they captured him, but they let him go because one of the some Muslim that it's not even considered such a big thing that historians did not even mention the name of the person who captured him first and gave him the security. They just say one of the Muslims gave him security and that's sufficient. It's not that, oh, another big Sahabi or another big general of the Muslim army who captured it and gave him security. No, one regular soldier, he gave the security, that's sufficient. And because of that, many people enter into fold of Islam. When they saw the Islam in action, the Islam is spread a lot by when people saw how Islam was dealing with the people. They saw in practice. This is why you see that Muslims do not force anybody to become Muslim, the people to become Muslim, but when people saw Islam was implemented over them, when they saw the justice of Islam and how Muslims deal with the non-Muslims, they had nothing else to do but to accept Islam, most of the people. And at the same time, there are areas where Muslims ruled for centuries, and we can see that because Muslims did not force them to become Muslim, they continue to be in whatever religion they were in. Like, for example, the areas we are talking about today, even Iraq or Syria or Iran, all these areas still have the people who are following the religions of their ancestors, like the people who are still call themselves Jews over there. For centuries, they're living under the Muslims. The people who call themselves Christians, they're still living there. People who call themselves Russian or Majus, they're still living in those areas. And similarly, one of the great examples you can think of is the Indian subcontinent. India today, it was ruled by Muslims for 800 years. 800 years. If Muslims were really forcing people to become Muslim, then the 800 years were more than sufficient to force the people to accept Islam. But Muslims never do that. They never did that. Unfortunately, today in India, all this Hindutva work is going on, and they are trying to force the people to become whatever they want them to be, or they're just forcing whether they're Christian or Muslims or even Sikh. They're going after them. And they're forcing them to become Hindu, or they're trying to kill them, unfortunately, the situation we are in. That's because of, it's not because of Islam what is happening. Of course, we know that. It is, again, and I say that many, many times, even though the news and the media, they bombard the minds of the people this way, that whatever injustice is happening in the Muslim lands or other places, if you find some Muslim name there, oh, it is because of Islam. It's not because of Islam, rather it is because of lack of Islam. It is because of lack of Islam. Islam is the one who provides the justice to the people. And here we see that when Islam is removed, then you see all the injustices happening. Yes, the Muslims are there in many places, but the Islam as a system is not there. And this is what we see when Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anh, when he is talking about the sending Muthanna or sending Abu Ubaid or Salid or Khalid bin Walid, Abu Ubaid bin Jarrah, and all those Sahaba to different areas to open those lands so they can take the dawah of Islam, to carry the Islam to the people. And that showed the justice to the mankind. Okay, now moving on. And then, of course, that the Muslim army, they moved forward, and Abu Ubaid went after those who fled away. Of course, the army fled away from the Persians, and they refuged in the area called Kaskar, and which was under the command of the nephew of the Kisra. His name was Nursi. So Nursi, we talk about Nursi was there also, and Jaban was there. So Nursi has supported the fight among Abu Ubaid, and Abu Ubaid met them in it's called Saqatiya. Saqatiya, where he defeated them and acquired a great deal of booty. So Abu Ubaid beat them over there again, and there was great spoils of war was collected. Now after that, which is the Maraka, or another battle that happened, which is called the Battle of Bridges, or it's called Waqatu Jisr. Jisr means the bridge, and there was another general from the Persian army, that another small battle happened between the Muslims and the Persians, and his name was Jalinus. He fled away from the Muslims, and the Persians, they regrouped and gathered around Rustam. And he mobilized a huge army led by Bahman Jadaway. Bahman Jadaway gave him the flag of the Kisra, which they used to refer as the Rafish Kabiyan. The Rafish Kabiyan means a Rayatul Uzma, or Rayatul Uzma means a big flag. A big flag or great flag. What it means by that is they used to think this has a good omen. If whoever carries the flag, they're not going to be defeated. Now, they gathered, and when they gathered, the Muslims reached there between the place the Muslims reached. There was a river between the Muslim army and the army of the Persians. And those two places were connected with a bridge. Okay. This is why this battle is called the Battle of Bridge, or the Jisr. Jisr means bridge. Now, from there, the general of the Persian Empire, the army, he said that, do you want to come on our side, or do you want us to go to your side? Now, Abu Ubaid right away said, they're not more courageous than we. We are going to come to your side. Now, this was a mistake, actually, and we'll talk about that when we go over there. Because when you are crossing the bridge with 10,000, 11,000 army, your army is actually, no matter how many people you have in the back, the front is narrowed now. Whatever is the width of the bridge, you have to pass through the narrow pass. When you have a narrow pass, now the other side has an edge over you. And that's what happened to the Muslims. And not only that, and then they came with the elephants, and elephants have some bells and rings hanging to them. Those noise that the elephants were making, that confused the horses of the army of Abu Ubaid. And now they started jumping, and the Muslims at the end, they had to get rid of their horses. Now they became foot soldiers. Now, while they became foot soldiers, now because they became foot soldiers, that's the other army has an edge over you, because they are on the elephants and they are on the horses, which are trained for what they were doing. So now, even then, Muslims were able to kill about 6,000, as one of the numbers mentioned. But now the Muslims, what they did was, they thought of it, let's do this. Go and cut the saddle of the elephant the army was on. And every time you cut the saddle, the person in the army will be on the ground. But that was not sufficient. Those people are coming down, but those elephants are still fighting. Because elephants were trained fighters, and they were going and crushing the Muslims. They were stepping on the people and they're crushing. Now, Abu Ubaid thought of it, well, why don't we do this? We go and cut the trunk of the elephant. This way, we will be able to get rid of the elephant, we'll be able to kill the elephant. When he tried to do that, he was crushed by the elephant as well, Abu Ubaid radiallahu anhu. Then it was given, the leadership was given to his brother. His name was Hakam bin Mas'ud. He wanted to do the same thing. He was also crushed. Not only that, 3 of the sons of Abu Ubaid, their names were Wahab, Malik, and Jabal. All 3 of them were martyred as well. And besides that, some other leaders of that. And these are all people, Abu Ubaid, radiallahu anh, he already nominated them. If he's martyred, who will be the next one? When all of the ones who he named were martyred, then Muthanna, radiallahu anh, he took over. Al-Muthanna bin al-Haritha, he took over, and now he wanted to retrieve. Because remember that, it is allowed in Islam to retrieve as well in some certain circumstances, especially when your army of the other side is more than twice the size. Okay, and also a temporary retrieve is different than to just run away from the battlefield. Of course, running away from the battlefield is not allowed. Now, he tried to take it back, and the people were already retrieving from the bridge. Okay, don't forget that the bridge makes your pathway very narrow. So there's a certain speed you can go back now. So they were moving back, and quite a few people already were moved back. Then one of the people, from the army of the Muslims. What he did was he went ahead and he cut the bridge. He did not want the people to run away. He thought of it, the Muslims are retrieving, they're running away, so he wanted to stop them. So he cut them. Now, when he cut them, of course, the Muslims were still again in the bad shape. And Muthanna, when he found out that who's the one who did that, he hit him. And he said, why did you do that? And he said, because he wanted the Muslims to fight back and do not run away. And then Muthanna, of course, explained to him. And then he put the bridge back and they were able to take everybody back. While they were taking everybody back, especially the leaders of the Muslim army, including Al-Muthanna, they were the last ones who retrieved back. It's not like that they were running back and the others are behind them. No, it was a strategic move, making sure that everybody will be safely retrieved back. And then they, of course, they went back again to the Iraq. And of course, today we know that, that those areas are under the Muslims. Now, what are the things that we should learn from that? Number one thing, as I said, mistake made was what? The bridge he should have not crossed. He should have not become like, we are courageous than them, hence we are going to go first. So this is foolishness. There's a war strategy that you have to make. You have to be intelligent. And this is one of the things, if you pay attention to, Umar ibn Khattab was not making Salid as the leader. And Abu Ubaid, unfortunately, he made similar kind of a mistake and he moved forward. Second thing was the Dawma, the wife of Abu Ubaid, she saw a dream before he was leaving. And in her dream, she saw Abu Ubaid and his son Jabir, and some of his family drank from it. There's a vessel. It says that she says that she saw a dream in which a man came down from the heaven with a vessel in which there was a drink. And Abu Ubaid, his son Jabir, and some of the other family members, they drank from it. Abu Ubaid right away understood that this means martyrdom. Okay, now he realized that, what it means. So subhanAllah, look what he does. He made sure all those people his wife mentioned, they are the one who should take over right after if he's gone, when he's martyred. All those people who were martyred were the one who she saw the dream of. So he wanted the people who are the shuhada, who are Allah pleased with them, be the one leading the army. And subhanAllah, all of them were martyred, and after that, Al-Muthanna took the leadership. So the one mistake was that he crossed the bridge first. Other thing to learn besides this mistake is the value of strong leadership. When Muthanna, radiallahu an, when he wanted to retrieve, the way he retrieved was he made sure that all the Muslims who are with him, the soldiers, they are safely taken back. Okay, and then himself and the other leaders who were making the path for the Muslims, they are the one who came later. Okay, other mistake was when one of the soldiers who was in the army, he cut the rope of the bridge, because that was without consulting the leadership. And he went ahead and he took the decision, and that caused more havoc. What was the havoc here? Because when he cut the bridge, there were many people who drowned as well, who were on the bridge, and the water pressure was so much, they were not able to protect themselves. And hence, he had to put the bridge back, and the people were able to take him back safely. Okay. After this army was retrieved, Al-Muthanna, he did not just retrieve completely back. Then he, after everybody was safe, then he took some of the soldiers and he followed the Persian army now. He followed the Persian army. He wanted to make sure that they do not come back and attack the Muslims. And when he was moving forward, and they were able to capture Jaban and Mardan Shah. These were two of the leaders of the generals. And they captured them. Now, the benefit of that was that raised the morale of the Muslim army high. They did not think of it as they have lost, even though there was a temporary loss that happened in that battle. And but at the same time, Muthanna made sure that he is leaving a taste in the mouth of the soldiers that they have achieved what they went for. And of course, later on, we know that the battles that happened, the Muslims were able to be victorious. So, inshallah, in today's talk, we'll stop here. And if there is any questions or comments about the subject about the conquest of Iraq was covered today, I'll try to answer the questions and comments if I can. So